This is Jenny Luez, and this video is BookTube related. I know it's been a hot minute, but I'm back. And today's read is solemn, serious. It's about history that we hope never repeats itself. It's a reminder to not stay quiet, to not go blindly, to not watch others mistreat your fellow man. Before I get into it though, if you are new here or have been watching me for some time but have yet to subscribe, please subscribe now, like this video, ring the notification bell so you don't miss a thing, so that this audience can grow and more people will be in the know about what to read and what to stay away from. Today's book review is Night by Elie Wiesel. As the cover of my edition showed you, it was one of Oprah's book club books years ago, and I will go ahead and link to the interview that Oprah did with Elie Wiesel, if I'm able to, in the description box below. The edition that you see here was translated by Elie Wiesel's wife. This is a book in which the preface is important to read, as well as the foreword. Elie's original book came out in 1958. The edition that I read was from 2006. The reader would be entitled to ask why this new translation, since the earlier one has been around for 45 years. Elie's response: back then I was an unknown writer who was just getting started. My English was far from good. Now he has his wife as his translator. She knows his voice and how to transmit it better than anyone. And so for this translated edition, Elie Wiesel reread the text, and he's glad he didn't wait any longer. Yet he still wonders, did he use the right words? He speaks of his first night over there, behind the barbed wire. And before I read any more, I probably should have prefaced this book myself in case you are not familiar with Elie Wiesel or this book, Night. That Elie Wiesel is a survivor of the concentration camps during World War II. He spent 2 years in the concentration camps. He barely survived, but he did. He lived to write this book, and just like Anne Frank's diary, this is a book that should never go out of print. He still wonders if he's used the right words. The discovery of the reality inside the barbed wire. The warnings of a veteran inmate counseling his father and himself to lie about their ages. His father needed to make himself younger, and Elie needed to make himself older. The selection, the march toward the chimneys looming in the distance under an indifferent sky. The infants thrown into fiery ditches. I did not say that they were alive, but that was what I thought. But then I convinced myself, no, they were dead, otherwise I surely would have lost my mind. And yet fellow inmates also saw them. They were alive. Historians, among them Telford Taylor, confirmed it, and yet somehow Elie did not lose his mind. That part of the introduction, talking about the infants, I can't allow my own mind to rest there for very long. As a mother myself now, the entirety of this book, in some regards, was almost too much. I had to disassociate myself, distance myself, even though already I wasn't there. I wasn't born yet. This isn't of my time. And yet, as a mom, if I really sat to absorb fully the imagery that these words of Elie brings to mind, the images of the families being separated, surely I would crumple and I would break down and sob. By reading a book, by also somehow disassociating in my mind because I'm not staying fixated on one paragraph, but reading one to the next. Because of the fluidity then of the storyline and the story and the words themselves, I actually did not cry during the reading of this book. I didn't allow myself to read it slowly enough, because if I had read it too slowly, I don't know if I could have ever finished. I give Elie Wiesel's book 5 stars. To me, it's a must read. This book shows us people who have come to the ends of themselves, some seemingly gone mad, what it is to accept and welcome death, how different personalities and different people handled what was happening to them. When you go from having a name and an identity to having that stripped away and laid bare, where now you are a number, are you able to remember who you are? Are you able to retain what you once believed in? Where is God in all of this? Now that's a hard question to answer, isn't it? And yet when one young boy was hanged in front of everyone, and in the middle of this square where people were forced to watch and could not intervene, someone quietly cried out, "Where is God? Where is his mercy? Where is he?" And Elie writes that in his spirit, in that moment, he heard, "There he is." Meaning that the young boy that was being hanged, that it was as if God himself were being hung. Now, as Christians, we might interpret it differently. That it's as if it's Jesus, God's own son, that was being sacrificed, represented in that boy. He died, saving the others from the same fate. That each hanging in that manner represented a bigger story at play. And yet we can still sit here and question, where were you, God? Where were you in all of that? And perhaps that's one of those questions we'll wrestle with until we get to heaven and see the tapestry that God's woven together. Until we ourselves are able to see what we currently cannot. At just 120 pages, this book is slim and yet just so packed full of lives lived, packed full of one man's journey alongside his father, full of the things that happened to them both. Amazing, heart-wrenching detail. These are lives, these are stories that are meant never to be forgotten. The Holocaust did happen, and we need to remember it. And we need to make sure that it's not repeated. One man is not better than the next. We all have inherent value and worth. And we all have lives that are meant to be lived and not squelched where our lights are dimmed or put out before our time. One can never imagine the life that's lived by another unless you are by his side. And even then, we still can't possibly put on his shoes. However, this book gives us as close of a view as one can have without having been next to Eliezer in the camps themselves, to bear witness to his emotions, both before, while they're in captivity, and when he finally found himself liberated. The weight that he still carries. This is not necessarily an enjoyable read, but it is a fast-paced read. It's easy in the sense that you won't want to put it down. You can definitely read it from start to finish in a day if you wanted to. And although the material is weighty, and although it is hard to read in some respects, it's too important not to read. So if you've never read Night by Elie Wiesel, again, it's a 5-star rating. I highly encourage you as an adult to read this book. It is for mature audiences only. I would like to say more, and yet words fail me. So much to say, and yet I believe it's important that Elie Wiesel is the one that tells his story. Until next time, friends.